Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well today. I've got a real case of teary eyes, but thankfully I've got some drugs to help me out, though unfortunately, as I've said many times before, they aren't going to help me with regards to having strokes, are they? But that's not why you called, so let's get this shit done, shall we? So, there was something that was said as far as, I believe, was it the Chief of Staff in the US? I'm trying to remember what title this one guy has, but there was someone in Trump's team, and even now Nigel the phony farage have been saying that we should allow Shamima Begum back into the UK. Now, I want to know what the fuck these guys are thinking right now. In fact, I want to know what kind of drugs they've been smoking right now, because who the hell is going to want to allow a former terrorist back into the UK? Now, turns out as well, there were some things that I didn't know about. In fact, Shamima Begum's even been one of the people who was up there, who was sitting there just busy sewing on suicide bombers vests onto terrorists. She was also there when women were stepping out of place. She was having an AK-47 aimed at them if they were dressing incorrectly. So, I guess I learn something new every day. I should be a very wise man by now, the amount of days I live. But unfortunately, no, I'm still my usual self. But I digress. The fact these two people, this Chief of Staff, or whatever his title is, and Nigel the phony farage, are now saying we should allow Shamima Begum back into the UK. No, we fucking shouldn't. She's about as welcome in this country as a fart in a car, quite frankly. The way I look at it, if you are willing to go out of your way to plan to go to a third world shithole where ISIS are sitting, and you want to join ISIS, and you want to help impose Sharia law or enforce it, or you want to help people basically blow up others, or even, I remember this still, or she even wanted to have a baby, which I think she miscarried, but she wanted to try have a baby with a jihadi spunk trumpet, and basically name him after a jihadist warlord. I can't remember the name of the warlord off the top of my head, but I do know that the name, because I did cover it in the past before. I believe I did it on my old channel, but I can't remember it now because obviously it's been like 4 or so years ago. But she basically wanted to name her baby after a really nasty warlord, not the sort of person who goes out handing out milk and cookies to the children and all that. So, I wonder, why the hell would these people want someone like that back in this country? I wonder why Nigel the phony farage would even consider, let alone actually want, this girl back in the country. The vast majority of British people have zero desire to have this asshole, this dickhead, back into this country. I don't want her back in this country. Frankly, she's made her bed. She's got to lie in it. If you go out of your way to go and support a terrorist group, quite rightly, your passport should be revoked. Just like that. Now, there was one story I did see, which I think I even mentioned it in a small the epilogue of one of my videos. But basically, the courts had ruled, after her appeal had failed, she was banned forever from coming back into the country. So there was some good news, at least. Hopefully, as long as that law still holds, this girl will never be allowed back in this country. And quite frankly, she never should be. No exceptions. You support terrorism, your rights to the UK are forfeit. My humble opinion, though. You can't go out of your way to leave this country to go and support people who wish to do us harm and expect to be able to come back here. That's like going to a house party and then trying to destroy the house and then expecting to be allowed back in. It's not happening. Nigel Farage, though, as much as he's been on point with a lot of things in the past, hell, he's been on point as far as wanting to fund a grooming gang inquiry is concerned, he has been very, very misguided as of late. Very misguided. I think he has become rather narrow-sighted, I would dare say. I think the man needs to take a few doses of wake the fuck up pill, quite frankly. Way I see it, if we allow this girl back into the country, it is going to set a disgusting precedent. Because as it is, we're already soft on people who commit and grooming gang offences. We're soft on people who go out and kill children, whether by accident or not. And we're soft on people that, frankly, should have the book and a tank thrown at them. While we sit here and we're going and sending off to prison people who write things on the internet. Make it make sense. Now, of course, if they're saying that we should, like one woman did, I'm trying to remember. I'm going to call her Mrs. Sweeney, because I believe her surname was Sweeney, and she basically put a post up saying we should blow up the Bell End churches, aka the mosques. But they decided to lock her up for, I think, 20 months or so. But they locked her up because she was basically advocating for terrorism, or advocating for people to commit a violent crime. Here's the thing. Do I think people should be locked up for what they say on the internet? Or what they say in person? No. But you have to understand there are laws that are in there that stop people from going around and telling one group of people or one person or whoever from, hey mate, you want to go and blow up that church over there? Yeah, let's go, bud. Yeah, how do you think that's going to go? So, as much as I don't want her sentenced to jail, she has broken a very serious crime. She's broken the law because she's inciting violence or terrorism, which I said is one of the two things you simply cannot do, no matter where you are, whether it's the internet, whether it's out in person, whether it's your underground bunker. You can't do it. But if we start bringing Shamima Begum back into this country, we're basically saying you can be a terrorist and we'll still welcome you back in it with open arms. How do you think the people are going to take that? How do you think ordinary people are going to take allowing terrorists to come back to this country? Now, for me, that would be a pretty fucking big nail in their coffin, quite frankly. Think about it. We already have grooming gang cover-ups. We have people protecting paedophiles. We have people protecting basically corrupt politicians and corrupt police, or people that basically want to do the British people harm. We have people who go out of their way to make sure that the so-called religion of peace ends up basically not getting investigated. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, folks, it doesn't suit the narrative. And then, of course, we have the eco-warriors who, they always seem to get a slap on the wrist rather than actually have a proverbial book thrown at them, quite frankly. I wonder how much damage this would do, actually. I mean, this is pretty fucking heavy. Anyway, back on point. The point I'm trying to make is there are lots of people who should be getting severe sentences who don't, while people who say things on the internet can be locked up, sent to a Muslim-populated prison, and then they end up getting ripped apart because of how intolerant the religion of peace truly is. And we have cases like that tragic one of Peter Lynch, God rest his soul. It really does beg the question, why the fuck would they allow Shamima Begum to come back here? For me, anybody that wants to go out of their way to condone bringing back Shamima Begum to this country is also a danger to this country, quite frankly. Because if they're willing to have Shamima Begum back into this country, they're willing to put our national security at risk. Stroke number one. Willing to put national security at risk, rather. Give me a whisk. Fuck it. I'll fucking whisk this bitch, let me tell you. Anyway, the point is, she is a danger to us. Even if she hasn't gone out of her way to, I don't know, murder some people on the street or blow up a market or whatever. The point is, she's at least had the training. She's at least had the experience of holding one of these guns. She's had the experience of sewing on these suicide vests. Do you honestly think we, the British people, want someone as dangerous as that coming into our country? No, frankly, she deserves to be beaten, metaphorically speaking. She deserves to be beaten like eggs. And I'll do the bloody job of whisking her ass, if necessary. Whisking her ass straight away out of this country, out back to where she came from, if she dares to come back. She has no right and no claim to this country whatsoever. And anyone who thinks she does have a right to come back here needs to go up to their GP and get checked out from the neck up. Because I can tell you right now, the British people do not want more terrorists in this country. We already have a problem with a substantial number of grooming gangs, a substantial number of terrorist attacks, which are perpetuated by the religion of peace. Remember, they're around 6.5% to 7% of the Muslim population, and they are responsible for 67% of terrorist attacks, terrorist offences. And they're responsible for 84% of all grooming gang cases, though that has probably gone up because of the number of grooming gangs we're seeing. The bottom line is we don't want Shamima Begum back. Nigel Farage, though, seems to have a change of heart. And this chief of staff also thinks we should take them. Well, number one, he has no right advocating for a terrorist return. And number two, why doesn't he take them? If he's so eager to have this girl have safe refuge, why don't you take him in? I dare you. Oh, that's right, because it would be a big problem for you. Whereas if you could say, oh, you lot in the UK should take him. She's not your problem. You can just sweep it under the carpet. That's why you're saying it. And to Trump, I would say, get this asshole locked up, quite frankly. Because if he's willing to say that we should allow terrorists back into our country, then we have no desire to have him free on the streets. We have no desire whatsoever to have people who want to endanger other countries serving in office. And I would urge Trump to fire him. He did a good job of that when he was on The Apprentice, so let's see him do it here. At the end of the day, Shamima Begum's made her bed, she needs to lie in it. And anybody who wants to endanger us should never be allowed back, ever. But those who want to advocate for her return are just as dangerous, or even more so, for the precedent they're trying to set. And if they want to bring terrorists back into our country, then we must make sure they're never allowed to speak out again. We must make sure that they are locked up and made sure that they will never threaten our national security.